Hello, and welcome to the next Shitterbowl. Arccephaly cast Astral Projection and immediately got punished for it. His astral, Joseph E. Stalin's astral cord was discovered and severed. He became feeble-minded and will probably never recover. However, he has this healer in this province, so eventually he will be healed. He will lose his feeble-mindedness. So, and he learned absolutely nothing from scrying the province. He just learned that it was Ulm-controlled. But I think that's actually because his scout's here, not because of anything else. He did see the battle on Fascia, but we'll skip it. Oh, never mind. I guess I'll look over at it. Well, it's nothing really too special. It's just Marignon killing PD. Building palisades here in the desert still, and a lab. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to say about this. Like, we've been watching Arccephaly slam down infrastructure as much as he can for a while now. And I don't really feel like it's helpful. Like, he has so many forts now. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, soon to have 7 forts. And it's just like, you don't have the gold to spend from all these things. I mean, I guess if you recruited just a single mage in all of them, but for all these turns that you've been building these forts, you aren't making mages. And now your research kind of... Well, I mean, everyone's research kind of sucks, but... you know, for one reason or another. Anyway, allegedly, diplomatically, Arccephaly may be coming to help Agartha and hit Ulm. But if that's the case, then these armies that he's sending are not going to do anything. No mage support at all. This army will just get run over against Ulmites that are legioned, you know, with +3 protection. These guys won't do anything. They'll just die. They won't kill a single Ulmite. I mean, even the Heart Companions, they'll all just die too. I mean, maybe they'll survive for a while, because they got decently high protection. Yeah, recruiting troops in some places is nice, but spent so much money on forts. He's gonna have another fort here in the swamp. He's gonna have 8 forts. I mean, hey, forts are good, don't get me wrong. Forts are definitely an improvement to the province, but is this worth it? I guess it is. I guess it kind of is. Although these castles could be upgraded another level. Well, these fortresses, rather, could be upgraded to castles and be made even better. Like, this one's been a fortress for a long time now, and he hasn't changed that. Well, he'll get Thaumaturgy 3 next turn, so he'll have a few neat spells off that, I suppose. What else can he see? Well, with his scouts, he's sort of aware of... Well, he's definitely aware that Ulm is invading Agartha, for sure. And that Marignon is invading Fascia. So I guess he has perfect information, somewhat. I wonder what he'll do with it. Oops. Okay, so we know Ulm comes over here with all these troops. And yeah, I mean, just look at this guy. He's got 23 protection. And these Agarthans are hitting for 15 damage. So 15 versus 23, like, you know, you do the math. That's not a positive outcome for the Agarthan. And they're even being earth melded too, held in place. Like, the best advantage that the light infantry has is their high defense skill. Oh no, magma bolts are being casted. This is the only way the Ulmites actually take damage. So the mages just kill them. Anyway, Ulm cleans that up. Doesn't lose a single man, and I think this is pretty representative of how all Agarthan battles will go if Agartha doesn't bring some pretty serious magic, because these troops are just unstoppable. He didn't even Legions of Steel them? Or did it just not fire? Oh, it did. I guess I didn't click on it after. Anyway, 26% protection against 15. On two 6-sided dice, you have to roll a 13 to do damage. So, and he took Gorillion, and Agartha didn't have PD there, so he has no idea what his opponent's army is. Not only does he have no idea what his opponent's army is, he doesn't know the scripting of his army. He doesn't know what his mages are being told to do. He doesn't know the composition. He doesn't even know how many mages are in the army in the first place. And this is a lot. This is a big chunk of mages. So he is sending the bulk of his army here to 50, and then he is sending one guy to 37. I'm curious how that will do. And he is also sending this commander, this lone guy, into this province, perhaps because he thinks Agartha has no PD everywhere, because he took this without fighting PD. But he fought the PD here. I don't know what his plan is. This guy's, maybe he's just suiciding him to save gold. Anyway, on his capital, he now has Monkey Midge and Ulfric Stormcloak, each leading a big army, and then 3 smiths going to 53. Ulm's looking very scary. Lots of units. And he's recruiting spies here on Archaecephaly's border. Mike Haddock is making a citadel over here. We're going to see a second citadel outside of Ulm itself be up next turn. And then Ulm can make another smith every turn. Yeah, this is looking pretty grim. For Agartha, that is. Found a bunch of nature gems, and then he found a lot more gems, a giant chunk of gold, and a Star of Thraldom. This thing's okay. This is yeah, this weapon ain't bad. This really works for Ulm, because even though it lowers your defense, Ulmites don't really care about having high defense, you know? This would not be a bad item to put on a Black Lord and give it to him. Like, give it to, I don't know, Monkey Midge. Like, you can see the chance to hit is an 18. Like, extremely likely to connect with your enemy. And if it hits 24 damage, that's crazy. That's normally reserved for, you know, two-handing a weapon. And yet we're well over that. And it just so happens to do this false fetters thing, which is basically Earth Meld, except against magic resistance. And it hits even a little more likely against shielded targets. So this is a pretty good weapon, and I would definitely consider it on a thug. Forging Earth Boots with his Dwarven Hammer guy. It's sort of a autistic nitpick, but every path of magic gives you a little research, so you could take off the helmet and give it to this guy, and now, or no, not this guy. Yeah, I guess never mind, you don't have other astral mages. Is that true? Is that the only astral smith? No, he's got Cannibal Steve over here, he's astral. His Pretender, of course. Are there any astral randoms in his army? No, he specifically must have picked out all the generic smiths. Yeah, he's only got 2 astral smiths. Amazingly, he's not got a single air smith, which is kind of unlucky, actually, not getting an air smith at this point. Producing 3 Blackolites. I'm unsure why. Maybe he just wants to spam temples. He is missing some temples on his forts. Those are basically totally safe to be put down, and they spread your dominion. And when you're Ulm with scales this great, you definitely want to spread your dominion because it's super good. Sort of like Archaecephaly should want to spread his dominion to some extent. Perhaps he's worried because he sees a temple on his border. I don't know. Not sure. What's he researching? Still going straight for construction 7 now, which gives you mechanical men. These guys are not very good. Weapons of sharpness, which is a fantastic earth buff for your troops. I mean, yeah, you could see. Deal armor-piercing damage. Crazy. Absolutely ludicrous. Basically doubles your damage, right, effectively. This is also a fantastic spell against All Mights. He gets Forge of the Ancients, which I love this global. All items, 20% reduction, and everyone crafts items as if they had the Master Smith ability, which means they craft as if they were one path of magic higher. So, and an Earth 3 mage would count as an Earth 4 mage for construction. And then he gets golems. And these are great thugs. You can teleport around and basically be immune to most conventional forms of killing. But yeah, it looks like Agartha is being hit 3 provinces this turn. We'll see how that goes. And these guys are just content to siege. I think he should probably just mop up this province, but maybe that's what he's doing with Colonel Boring. Well, I don't know. He is bringing sappers. He is getting more sieging troops. But you see what I mean? Like, Ulm is fighting a war, investing a lot of gold in it, but he still is rolling in money. Ulmites just have so much money, or they're just so cheap for what they do. They're so efficient at killing that it barely costs them anything. Anyway, for Marignon's turn. So we know he takes the battle in Phaecia. This is a much spookier army than the first Marignon army that was on top of it. 37 Knights of the Chalice. That's no joke. And he's even got some witch hunters now. Architects to help slam down the walls. 5 paladins. But at the same time, Phaecia sent out some raiding parties. Here is War Shamblers against just some light Marignon PD. It looks like 6 or 5. And yeah, the War Shamblers are just as good on land as they are off. And this is another raiding party using his literal raiders against barbarians even. I wonder how they win this. Oh, they snipe the commander. And the barbarians flee. I'm not sure that would have gone that well if the barbarians got up into combat. The tax collector has been waylaid. What a terrible event. He found a scout of Phaecia's in Bogatin and killed it. We've just started to destroy the fort in Phaecia. The walls are lightly damaged, and more time is needed to break them down. So attackers, this is all the info they get. Just like sort of the walls are lightly damaged, which does correspond to something. But anyway, he bought the crossbowmen and the druid, so his bank account is completely ravaged. He's finally going to go back and take this province that Phaecia nabbed from him so long ago. And looks like he'll presumably finish his palisade over here, even though there's 2 giant armies that could interrupt it at any time. Taking these paladins and sending them up here to 120. I think this is everything on his capital. Oh, he's leaving a few behind. I guess, just in case he needs to defend his southern flank. Which makes sense. He has 2 more mages, a witch hunter, and a grand master, who are also leading a big army up north. And I think this is a really troubling sign for Phaecia, because now, at last, Marignon is starting to consolidate his forces while Phaecia is being sieged. However, presumably, Marignon has know... Yeah, he doesn't know that Fascia owns all of this clay. And he also doesn't know that Fascia has forts over here. Furthermore, he doesn't know that Fascia is building a fort on 2. He doesn't know that a fort is being constructed right outside the capital, and it looks like he has no interest in moving to snipe that territory. Which I would do if I were him. Like, you have enough paladins, just take 1 paladin, give him, like, 2, 3, you know, whatever you want, maybe like 4 knights, and just go ping all these provinces and just take all of them. Unless you're really worried about him breaking the siege with his force, but honestly, against this army, and we know what Fascia has, we know exactly the army they have. I think with this many Knights of the Chalice, I think it'd be very, very close. I think it'd be very close. It really depends on what if the Knights can get to the mages fast enough, or if they get held up too long. Also, there's a lot of other random stuff here, like crossbowmen and macemen, that are going to be hurting your morale when they die. Crossbowmen, also one of the few things in the battlefield that can kill your Knights of the Chalice. I wouldn't have made these at all, by the way. I think the crossbowmen are just totally a wrong choice. It's not like Fascian troops, their armor sucks, right? You don't need armor piercing. This is a cool recruitment thing that he's doing here. And in his cap, he's recruiting a lot too. Is he hiring mercs again? He's hiring Raiders of the Silver Step. Thankfully, for his sake, he can't blow, you know, 1,000+ gold on these things, because he doesn't have that much money anymore. But still, he is spending a lot. 279 on these things. Poor Marignan has just spent... He spent so much money on mercenaries. It's kind of unbelievable how much money he spent on mercenaries. And now here, presumably, we're gonna see him spend another 279 gold. He's well exceeded Fascia's expenditures, that's for sure. But as long as he gets use out of them, I suppose. He's gonna have Conjuration 4 next turn. We will have to see what he's going to do with it. Anything else happening? No, he's recruiting the mercs here. I guess he's going to try for this with these crossbowmen. So let's see what Agartha is doing in response to being invaded. More statues. We know how these battles go, but this is him fighting Indies. Weird. Looks like the mage went off script, because the mage just didn't cast Legions of Steel on the Indies. Instead he casted Bless. Which, you know, I mean, granted it's a good Bless, but it's just for him alone. That's weird. Wasn't he doing Legions of Steel before? I mean, he takes the province, but he loses a few units that I don't think he would have lost. Okay, so here it says our walls are damaged, right? But if you go to the province and you click on fortification, you can see precisely the integrity, how it's changing. So yeah, Agartha's got like, what is this, 7 turns-ish? Maybe 6 before it breaks. He's got a long time to move troops to defend this. And looks like he is rapidly mobilizing units from all across his country to defend. He is still researching, going straight for Conjuration 3 and then Alteration 2 afterwards. He'll hit both on the same turn. Alteration 2 giving that all-important Earth Meld, I suppose. And then he's going for Enchantment 4 afterwards. Maybe for Raised Dead. This is a good one. Or Terracotta Army, I suppose. But they're somewhat brittle if struck by blunt weapons. Well, Ulm doesn't have any blunt weapons in this army. He's just got slashing and piercing weapons. Yeah, it's just so he's just forming up troops. He's actually leaving these guys back here at the garrison alone. Perhaps just in case Ulm moved his giant army right here, he could immediately storm onto this fort, and he doesn't want to lose that. But he still has no PD on this province on 37, so Ulm will just take it for free. And he also has no PD on this province here, so Ulm will also take this province for free. However, this one does have 5, so this poor commander over here, when he tries to walk onto it, he will be beset by 13 men, and he will probably be killed. Unless he's scripted to retreat. I didn't pay attention to that. Maybe he's scripted to retreat. But yeah, I think this is a pretty bad blunder on Agartha's part to not put PD in his provinces. Because now he just doesn't know. He just has no idea what Ulm's army is. He doesn't know its script. He doesn't know what mages. He has no info. He just has like this very generic block that says it consists mainly of pikeneers, crossbowmen, sappers, black knights. So basically it consists of like everything. But he has no idea. I mean, like, look, this is what he's got. This is the information he's got. What you're seeing on the screen is all the info. As far as I know, maybe he asked another player. Maybe he like asked Marignon for intel and he gave it to him, so he does know. But I always like to put 1 PD in my provinces just for this exact reason, just so you know explicitly you can go into a battle. Yeah, obviously the 1 PD isn't going to live, but it's like a 1 gold perfect scout report. Like, you get a perfect report of what your opponent's doing. Anyway, I suppose he'll know soon enough. I can't help but wonder, though, if he would change his strategy a bit if he knew what his opponent was doing. Or rather, what his opponent's army was really looking like. I don't know. Maybe there's not much he could do. I suppose he could always enter his Hall of the Oracles, which is a special Agarthan site, so he can send an Earth Mage there, and he could scry, so he can get scouting information. So he could scry this province. That would give him intel, and he could send one of these crappy Earth Readers to do it. Anyway, bringing all the mages back home, he's going to have a lot of magical firepower, but it looks like he's just going to be settling in for the winter as the Ulmish invasion begins during the worst time of year to be starting a war. Is he recruiting mercs? No, no mercenaries. No mercenaries. And Fascia. So we know how all these battles go. Underwater brigands take up in a ruin. He's got some unrest underwater, actually. Looks like he's trying to patrol it away in the Sea of Plenty, which is actually the Sea of the Very Few. Almost nobody living in the Sea of Plenty. Only 2,000. The smallest of his underwater provinces. He is building a lab and a castle over here on Silverham, so normally he can't collect gems because he only has 1 lab, and it can't, like, this gem province can't draw a connection to a friendly lab because they're blockading the fort, so that you can't get in or out. So looks like this army will move over here safely. He must be worried about his palisade. And this army will move over here to the crossbowmen. I wonder what will happen if the crossbowmen will get here first and the raiders will get here, or if the raiders will stop them and have a battle. I think the raiders would probably lose. Like, their bows are much more ineffective, much less effective than the crossbowmen. His palisade over here will be done next turn, and no one's contesting that. Yeah, just sneaking some troops around. So it looks like he'll lose some provinces, but he may gain 1. Yeah, this war has definitely been a very deadly expenditure for both players. But you see what I mean? Like, this is a lot of mages. I think Facia could conceivably win with an army like this, even if it's just one big dumb line of giants. I think he could win if he casted enough Mind Burns. Because Marignon just doesn't have any mage support presently. And he's also trying to hire the mercs, but he's going to get outbid, as usual. Or wait, no he's not. He is going to get them. Right, because they're his, so his gold counts for a double. Presumably. Presumably he will outbid Marignon. Anyway, not much else to say on this turn. Just, yeah, there will be one battle between these two players next turn. Archaecephaly constantly has an army on the border just waiting to swoop in and start stealing provinces. Which, honestly, he should consider that with Agartha. Like, I know Agartha called him to help him, and I think diplomatically that's a morally right move to make, but on the other side of the coin, Ulm is extremely strong, and Archaecephaly has a lot of gold too, but most of it's tied up in infrastructure. So perhaps just stealing clay from Agartha as he is undefended and can't save himself in certain provinces would be a smarter play, if not a a good play. Anyway, that's it for this turn.